Rev up your engines!
Well, get this one. Tesla may lose the ability to sell cars in California. All right, what's the story behind this one? The California Department of Motor Vehicles sued Tesla, accused them of misleading consumers about their self-driving technology. The Department of Motor Vehicle argued that Tesla's full self-driving technology is false advertising, which of course it is. It's not full self-driving. It'd be like saying, hey, we got a flying car. It doesn't really fly, but we're calling it the full flying car, right? So the Department of Motor Vehicle wants to suspend Tesla's license to manufacture and sell cars in the state of California for at least 30 days. Now, the verdict is still out. They're deciding, the court's deciding what to do. Now, hilarious enough, Tesla's attorney, Matthew Benedito, says the company never tried to conceal the fact that its vehicles cannot fully drive themselves and has always informed buyers that they cannot fully rely on autopilot. But then why do they call it full self-driving? This is the most ridiculous thing on earth. And then you hire a lawyer to explain, well, they told people it doesn't, but that's the name, full self-driving. It's ridiculous. That's even still out there. They should have just said, no, you can't call it that. Name it something else, right? Fully stupid driving, I don't know, but not full self-driving because it isn't. We'll see what happens, I doubt if they'll suspend the factory for 30 days or more because there's too much money involved. There's too many lawyers involved. And it'll probably go on for years and years in the courts, wasting our government money. All right, let's face it, Department of Motor Vehicles all works by tax dollars over something that they're not going to change. And the ridiculous thing is all they had to do was change the name of the stupid thing, but they're not going to do that. So basically, you got a bunch of idiots in court arguing over something, wasting money for probably no purpose whatsoever. Other than, I think they should be forced to retire the name because it's not full self-driving. Well, the former GM Lordstown plant in Ohio, remember, they shut it down. They sold it to a company called Foxcon. They said they were going to make electric cars. Well, guess what? Taiwanese tech giant Foxconn has sold that and said, well, we're not going to make the electric car stuff there anymore. They're all starting to leave the ship. The rats are leaving the sinking ship. Now, they said they invested $26 million in a facility, but now they're sold. They also sold the machinery and equipment for EV production that's in there. Hey, they got $287 million for all that machinery and equipment. And here's what they say. They want to cover their own heinies. Foxconn will be able to ramp up automotive production to meet customer demand when required. Well, I guess even the Taiwanese are realizing Americans don't particularly require electric cars with electric batteries anymore. They also said, quote, the decision to sell this facility is part of the company's plan to expand into new business areas. Not electric cars, electric batteries, something else. They see the handwriting on the wall. Now, GM shut down this Lordstown assembly plant. They used to make the Chevy Cruze there. They shut it down in 2019. Then it was owned by, if you remember, Lordstown Motors, right? They were going to make electric vehicles. Well, they're gone. Foxconn took over in 2022. Now it's 2025, and they are gone. So, as you can imagine, the whole electric car manufacturing scenario is starting to get shaken out. Companies are just leaving left, right, and center, realizing, hey, even if you're making the cars or you're making the electric batteries for it, generally Americans are not buying them by the masses that they thought, and it doesn't make any sense to build these things if no one is buying them. As Foxconn itself said, quote, we won't inject more money until we see the market orders. They want Mitsubishi, Nissan, anybody's got electric cars that they're trying to make, to have them build the parts for them. And they're not going to build the parts, though, until they have orders for them. And guess what? I wouldn't put my money bankroll either Nissan or Mitsubishi. Both of those companies are in deep doo-doo to begin with. And they might make orders, but then never pay for them. So doesn't look too good for the old Lordstown plant. It's been through all these different owners, and now it's at another one. Just shows you, electric cars, hey, not ready for prime time. Well, as if they didn't have enough problems with the Cybertruck, one Cybertruck owner says that his Tesla Cybertruck suspension exploded while it was in his driveway. Now, So far, the Tesla Cybertruck has been recalled 8 times. It might snap its frame if you tow with it, and it was even knocked out by a car wash when it drove through. Well, now one guy says his suspension exploded in a driveway. Dean S. says it was parked in his driveway 3 p.m. on a Saturday when he heard a bang. They looked outside. They looked like smoke or dust coming off the bed. Now, the battery, thank goodness, hadn't started on fire, but the passenger side air suspension exploded. Now, they towed it to a Tesla service center, and of course, the scumbags that they are, they said, damage is due to an outside influence that's not covered by warranty. And they had to pay $250 to get it back. Not fixed, just to get it back. What happened was, it blew up, then the spring pushed through the bed and broke some hard components. He said, it'd been sitting in the driveway. And of course, the Tesla boys tried to defend it, saying, I think external damage weakened the casting. And then the casting broke, caused the suspension to collapse. And the bladder airline was cut, causing a sudden pressure release. They want to make an excuse for it, right? Regardless of any of their excuses, it broke, right? They're supposed to be Cybertruck, super strong. The guys driving it around, if it broke because it wasn't made correctly. Right? And then they don't even stand behind it. You'd think they would, for good grace, fix the thing free because they got such bad rep on how crappy these Cybertrucks are. But no, you owe us $250 if you want your truck back for bringing it here and telling you what happened. What a company. I've seen good companies, they knew the people who owned the car abused them, but they wanted to keep their good name, so they fixed it. Okay, so these guys, no, you drove it too hard. It's supposed to be the Cybertruck, right? Again, Cybertruck equals rolling pile of crap. Do not buy one. Well, when you get your car fixed, you got one more thing to worry about, and that's counterfeit parts. Counterfeit parts, especially Chinese counterfeit parts, are flooding into the United States. In 2024, the U.S. Customs got over 211,000 counterfeit parts, and you know how that goes. If they got 211,000, it's probably 211 million or more counterfeit parts coming into the United States. And it's tricky because they'll end up showing you that they came from Las Vegas, Detroit, or someplace. A lot of them come from Las Vegas with Chinese junk in Las Vegas. I've gotten a lot of junk that was Chinese that originated, well, at least it said it came from Las Vegas, but it went from China to Las Vegas, and then Las Vegas sold out. You have to be very leery about buying things online, especially eBay. They'll say it's one thing, and it turns out that it's another thing. Realize you get parts, they should be branded. If it's a Denso part, it will say Denso on it. If you get it, comes in the mail, it's got no name on it, it's not a Denso part. You have to be very careful these days because people are sneaking crappy parts all over the place. Whether you're buying it or you're having a mechanic fix your car. If you're fixing it yourself, use what I just said. Check it out, make sure it's real. Buy it from a reputable source. But if you're not, the mechanic's doing it, demand. And I mean demand. See, the box that it came in, they always come in boxes. And the box will tell you a lot. I've seen people bring me a box and it will say Delco, D-E-L-K-O. Of course, you know, Delco is D-E-L-C-O. If it says D-E-L-K-O or D-A-L-K-O, you know it's a fake part. And it's a big deal now because there's a lot of counterfeit parts out there. They don't work right, especially the electronic ones. Sometimes they'll even destroy your main computer and cost you a fortune. So watch out for counterfeit parts. Well, even the Chinese are having problems selling their electric car. China's BYD, which is their biggest battery-making car company, has broken its delivery growth streak. They've lost sales in the last quarter. They've been going up and up and up. Now, they're going down some. China's largest EV maker, BYD, posted its first monthly delivery decline because they're having price wars in China, and even the Chinese are starting to look at something besides their big boy, BYD. Their other makers, Li Auto, NIO, they also had a drop in July deliveries, but XPeng had a record numbers. And there were also bright spots in Xiaomi, Leapmotor, and Aito, which had month-over-month growth. So, even in China, it's not a one-company takeover like Tesla originally. You know, they took over the world sales of EVs in the United States. Well, that's starting to slip a little too. Even in China, amongst the Chinese, they're having problems selling more and more of one model. As the saying goes, competition keeps people on their toes, right? Well, old Tesla, they thought they didn't have any competition, didn't keep them on their toes. Now, they got the Chinese making things that cost a fraction of what the Tesla's going to cost. And in China, Tesla sales are dropping off the board. And overall, a lot of the sales are just going down because, hey, electrification isn't happening overnight. Li Auto had a decline of 39.7%, almost 40% from last year. Now, NIO, another one, it was only down 2.7%. It was down, but only 2.7%. And it shows, even in China, there's companies that will fall off. You go back 5 years ago, there were like hundreds and hundreds of electric bicycles coming out of China. Now, there weren't hundreds and hundreds of different factories. There were a few factories making them and then just give them different brand names. But the companies that were selling those brand names, a lot of them are bankrupt now. They're all out there trying to sell stuff. And then as it shakes down or as the rubber hits the road, the good companies will stay and the bad companies will go down. So even in China, there's a lot of competition. Yeah, you talk about, the Chinese have an unfair advantage. Hey, in some sets, maybe they do, but they have a very competitive market at the same time. And it'll shake out the losers, and the people that make the best ones at the best price will go to the top, and they'll be the ones who are making them all. You need competition, right? Serious competition, like in the United States. You can't compare Tesla sales to any of the other American companies that are making electric vehicles. Their sales are so far ahead. Make your head spin. They started it out. They became a thing. Now they're not so much a thing with old Elon and his political slants, but hey, in China, there's a much more competitive market, which in the long run, worldwide, will make China even more competitive. Well, there must be a bunch of hiney kissers in Tesla because Tesla just approved the share award worth $29 billion to Elon Musk. He's been fighting his $50 billion compensation package from 2018, and it went to court, and it changed all around. But earlier this year, Tesla said their board had a special committee to consider compensation for Musk. Some board. Bunch of butt kissers, right? You can see that. While we recognize Elon's business ventures, interests, and other potential demands in his time, we're confident this award will incentivize Elon to remain at Tesla, said their special committee of butt kissers, right? Come on now. Most people probably want to get rid of him. He's dragging the company down, right? Stacking the deck for him, obviously, They're all afraid of him, and they want to keep it rolling. They're hoping that his name will keep the company rolling. After a while, people realize, if you don't understand anything about Elon Musk, there's one thing to understand. He is what's called a futurist, right? He thinks, the future's going to be like this. But there's a problem with futurism is we never live in the future. We always live in the present. So he keeps promising things that don't come to fruition. And after a while, the average person, such as we consumers, are going to say, he promised all this stuff, but it never came. I'm not buying his crap. I'm buying something. I don't need all this full self-driving nonsense that doesn't work, right? So, deep problems at Tesla, but their board and their special board that they created are just a bunch of hiney kissers giving old Elon money like he doesn't have enough, right? He needs more. Now, here's a warning why you shouldn't leave water bottles and stuff like that in your car in the hot sun. A Texas man left his water bottle in his Jeep, and guess what it did? He left the water bottle in the Texas heat in his Jeep, and whoosh, the passenger side is all scorched, like a small fire had broken up and all melted. And he says, quote, "That's what happens when you leave a water bottle in the front seat and the sun hits it just right and acts like a magnifying glass." Plastic water bottles, they can even explode. They can high enough to explode. Boom, right? But that's the pressure of the water. What you're worried about is it's got the water in it, it's a magnifying glass. They can start a fire because it focuses on it. If you've got a piece of paper or a plastic seat, it can even start it on fire. So, you don't want to leave things like that in your car in the sun. One, you don't want to drink water that's been heated up in a plastic bottle. All those nanoplastic particles are getting absorbed by the water you're drinking. It's certainly not a good thing for you. Put your plastic bottles in the trunk. If you've got common sense, do what I do. Nice insulated stainless steel bottle for my water. When I'm cheap, why should I pay $2 to $5 for a bottle of water when I have a filtration system at my house here, and I filter it, put it in here, so it costs me probably a fraction of a penny instead of dollars for it, and it can sit forever because it's insulated. It's not going to blow up. It's got a nice top on it. It's insulated. It can't make a magnifying glass to have the light come through and burn things because the light doesn't go through it. Worst comes to worst, if I leave it in there for many days, it won't be cold anymore. Then I empty it out and pour some new stuff in. So don't leave those plastic bottles lying around, especially if there's water in them, because they might give you a big surprise that your nice car seat is now melted down because you left the water bottle there. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.